Hey everybody, I'm Ethan, and I'm here. I'm going to show you guys the cross-domain routing capabilities of the NetOptics controller. So, a little preface before we get into the actual demo itself. Here's a little network diagram that we drew up to show the use case for the cross-domain routing. Here you have one segment on the .100/24 subnet, and it's on VLAN 100. You have another subnet down here, .200/24, it's on VLAN 200. If you wanted the devices here to talk to each other, this is the network setup you would have to have. Two layer 2 switches, a layer 3 switch, and you have to do inter VLAN routing. With the cross-domain routing feature in the NetOptics controller, all you need is an SDN switch. So what cross-domain routing does is it basically turns this SDN switch into a router of sorts. Now it's still an SDN switch, obviously it gets flows from the controller and you can configure it that way, but it will also now route traffic between this subnet and this subnet, and you can have these devices on these two segments talk to each other even though they have different subnet, different default gateway, different domain, anything. So it's a lot easier because you don't need to mess with any of that inter VLAN routing. You don't need to do any of that, and you only need one switch instead of three. For the demo, we have a similar setup to this. We're not using the same IP addresses, but we have a device here. It's a Linux device, and it is configured on a different subnet than the PLC here on a different subnet, but they're both connected to the same SDN switch. We also, for just different testing, we have a router, another SDN switch with a couple devices connected to that. I'm calling that like a separate public subnet. And in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to set this Linux device to be able to talk to another public subnet that's just completely separate than its own, and also reach into the PLC and talk to this PLC that I'm going to call the private subnet right here. That's going to be on different subnets than any of the other two. So here's our network topology page here. Here's the one switch with the router in between, with a laptop and a PLC hooked up. Here we have a device and then the Linux device here, but it's not showing up because it's on a different subnet. So it can't talk to anything. I'm RDP'd currently into this laptop right here on the other side. I'm going to try to ping, and nothing. It's not able to ping that Linux box. If I go over to here, I'm currently in the controller itself, and I try to ping the Linux box. I'm not getting anything. Whereas I can reach over and I can ping the PLC over on the other side. So traffic is working as it's supposed to. We just haven't configured cross-domain routing. To do this, you're going to go into the switch configuration page, and if you see here, cross-domain groups, none of these switches have a group. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a group. We're just going to call this demo. Go into the cross-domain gateways now. Here, we're going to assign it to this group, and we are going to select the default gateway of the Linux device that's on the .50 subnet. So its gateway currently is .50.200, and it's on a /24. This local interface, this is no, so meaning it's not just local to that SDN switch. It can shoot out and upwards, so we're going to give it the upstream gateway. And right now, this is the gateway that is on the router above this switch. So it's going to forward traffic with this gateway into this upstream gateway. Save that. And we also want our PLC in the private that I was talking about to talk to that Linux box. So we enter the gateway on that PLC, and this is a local interface. We do not want this thing talking to anything outside of that SDN switch. Now we save it. So here, as you can see in this configuration, this is how everything is supposed to be configured. So now the Linux box will be able to reach out past the switch and talk to everything outside of it, and this PLC is now going to be able to talk to everything, talk across to the Linux box. So what we're going to do is we are going to go and we need to assign this cross-domain group over to this switch. The switch that those devices are connected to is switch 2. So we go, make sure it can connect. It's on the demo cross-domain group, just what we named it. And now that it's selected, we should be able, all devices should be able to communicate with each other as intended. So let's see, we go into this laptop that I am RDP'd into. We are going to ping that Linux device. Hang on while that thing sets its flows and gets everything set up. I am currently in the controller right now, and I should be able to ping .50.50. Yep, I now can talk to it. So that means I should also be able to SSH into it. It's going to set its flows. Give it a second. There we go. All right. From here, I should be able, now I'm in the Linux box. I am in this separate subnet over here on a different address, and I'm going to be able to talk to the PLC at the 10.0.0.100, and I'm going to be able to reach across and talk to devices through the router. So first, let's see if I can ping the PLC on a different subnet. Yep. And I am also going to be able to ping the PLC in the private subnet. Now, if I were to go over to here, this cannot ping into the private subnet. And same thing, this controller is not able to communicate with the PLC that is on the private. Just the device that we have set up correctly in the cross-domain routing. So there was a little demo for you guys showing the cross-domain routing capabilities of the NetOptus controller. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.